since then, South Africa has had a number of remarkable achievements. The hosting of the 1994 elections and the way in which the transition occurred, the establishment of a democratic state with institutions like a judiciary, a constitutional court, deracializing and integrating the public service. Remember, we had 17 different education departments, 16 different health departments, building a society. We've had significant progress. We've hosted numerous international events, and we've been able to build a society and a state that has been able to take significant steps forward since 1994. Most importantly, we restored the dignity of all South Africans. And the 1994 elections and our constitution gives dignity to all South Africans, and that's something that we shouldn't underestimate. Let me skip this. We've also had significant progress in deracializing the top end of the income spectrum. In 1994, about half the people who are in the top 20% of income earners were black. Today, about 2/3 of the people in the top income earners are black. Significant progress in helping to deracialize the top end of the income spectrum. But as we'll see going forward, we've not made significant progress in reducing poverty and inequality. The Planning Commission's identified these two things in the center, poverty and inequality, as our major challenges. Reducing poverty, eliminating poverty, and reducing inequality are the key objectives for 2030. We believe it's possible. We believe that we can achieve these objectives. But we're also taking into account that since 1994, we've not made enough progress in addressing these issues. The poverty rate has fallen, and I'll give you some numbers in a few minutes, but we still have an extremely unequal society. In highly unequal societies, the ratio of earnings of the top 10% to the bottom 10% is about 60-1. In South Africa, it's about 100-1. So for every R1 that somebody in the top 10% earns, the bottom 10% is earning 1 cent. So we have significant levels of inequality and poverty. The Planning Commission has identified 9 challenges that we've identified to try and achieve these 2 objectives. And as Commissioner Ramaphosa said, this is not necessarily new to people, but we've attempted to present it in a way that provides evidence, backed up by significant research, and so it's not just dinner time talk. It's backed up by hard evidence and research. Of these 9 challenges, and I'll run through them in a little bit of detail, we think 2 are more important than the other 7. Right? Those are that despite significant progress in improving access to education, the majority of black people in South Africa, the majority of poor people in South Africa still receive poor quality education, particularly school education. And secondly, that too few people work in South Africa. In similar countries, if you ignore the unemployment rate, if you simply take the employment rate, right, and if you take the population from age 18 to age 60, in South Africa, 41 out of 100 adults are working. Now, a few of them might be in university, right? But notwithstanding that, only 41 out of 100 are working. In Brazil, that figure would be about 60. In China, it would be about 70. In countries like the US and the UK, it would be about 72, 73. So we have an unusually low proportion of South Africans working. Now, this includes informal sector work. Right? It includes the lady standing on the side of the street selling bananas. Right? This is both formal and informal work. So too few South Africans work. The other challenges that I'll run through in a bit of detail, we've got a high disease burden. We still have divided communities. While we've made progress in building a non-racial society, we're still a divided society in many respects. Public service performance is uneven. In the leafy suburbs where I live, if you phone an ambulance, they'll be there in a few minutes. But in many rural areas or in many townships, they're not likely to arrive at all. The spatial patterns that apartheid development introduced still plague our development and still exclude a large proportion of people from access to work. We have high levels of corruption in our society. in government in particular, at all levels, particularly at provincial and local level. We have an extremely resource-intensive economy. Our CO2 emissions are amongst the highest in the world. They're the 12th highest in the world. We're a water-scarce country, and we use a larger share of the water that falls on our land surface than most countries, quite inefficiently. And we've got crumbling infrastructure. Road networks, power networks, our ports are all insufficient to provide for economic growth and human development. Quickly, to try and give a little bit more flesh to these, factors, this slide shows high levels of unemployment, particularly amongst young people. Right? So there are 2.65 million people between the age of 15 and 30 who are unemployed. Of that, almost 2 million have never worked. While poverty rates have fallen, we still have high levels of inequality and high levels of poverty. Education has undergone several broad reforms. We've made progress in improving access to education. We have almost near universal enrollment up to age 15. There's a dropout rate of about a third between age 15 and age 18, but that's not unusual for a developing country. We've been able to get people into schools. We've also been able to improve the equity of funding that's gone into education. But we're not producing the results that that are desirable. We've used this term of a top-performing school, and the document thrashes out in some detail what a top-performing school is. Only 1% of African schools are regarded as top-performing schools.